now your hosts, Ryan Kane and Zach Daughtry.
Good evening, barbecue family, and welcome to the season finale of Midwest Backyard Matters. Whether you are out in the driveway, in the backyard, or out on the KCBS competition trail, always remember that backyard matters. I am joined for the last time this season by my co-host Ryan Kane from Damn Fine Beef and Swine. How you doing tonight, bud?
Hotter than an episode of Yellowstone, my friend. I'm doing good, bud. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So, talk about Worlds a little bit. You're down there competing in the Masters division. How'd it go?
It went well. I mean, it was a 13-hour drive. We got down there Friday morning. We drove overnight, so left Kansas City about 7:30 Thursday night. Got down there Friday morning. Had the banquet Friday night for the Team of the Year stuff. That was cool. We got our little 20th place rib trophy for that, so that was neat. And then Saturday, me, my buddy Eric, and our buddy Weeze teamed up and cooked the Open together, and we had a good time. I looked like a tiny person compared to those two giants, but no, we had fun. It was cramped in our little trailer trying to get the three of us in there to cook and do everything like that, but we liked our turn-ins. Got a couple calls Saturday night, which was good. Got, I think, a 5th place rib and a 9th place brisket. I think 22nd overall was where it ended up. Saturday night was kind of weird because nobody knew, outside of the top 15, nobody knew where you finished because they didn't post scores for about 4 or 5 hours. So we went to bed not really knowing how bad the other two categories tanked. And then Sunday was the Masters Invitational, and we Eric and I cooked again and had another really solid cook. We thought managed to get a 6th place pork and a 9th place brisket. We were consistent with brisket all weekend, and then was very surprised to hear that we made the top 10 at 7th place with like a 702. When they called the top 11 scores at 700 plus, we were like, I think we can relax. So that was surprising, but a really welcome way to end the weekend. Definitely made the drive home a little bit easier. Got back in town about 8:30 this morning. So
yeah, so no, congrats on your 7th overall, because it was a 702, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah, it was 702 something. It was barely. I mean, I think the 8th place. I mean, Schaefer from Heavy Smoke was right behind us in 8th, and it was just. It must have been like an A appearance score difference between the two of us.
Because I think wasn't top 10 all 700 plus.
Yeah, 7. It might even. I think it might even be top 11.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
They were. From what the feedback from the judges was, apparently they had some really good food on Sunday and they rewarded it. So yeah, there were a lot of really really good scores. Our chicken score was like 24th. And I think we either won our table or came second on our table, and it was still a 175.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not a hell of a lot else you can do in that scenario. But
yeah, not to get controversial or go into a deep dive about it, but it seemed like the judging on Sunday was much more consistent than it was on Saturday.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have a lot of information as to what went down on Saturday outside of the rumors and whispers of a bunch of people in a cold campground in Alabama. But yeah, it seemed like they didn't have some of those problems that they had the day before with. I know there were new judges on Saturday that were judging. I know there was judges that didn't show up on Saturday. There were people they were just pulling in to judge one of the ancillaries. But yeah, it was a little goofy. I guess that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So let's get into the results from the Backyard Invitational that took place on Sunday. So, winning the grand championship, and our guest for tonight's show, Dave, Dick, and Ham Squad. Reserve Grand, Hickory Hangover. 3rd, Mispillion Meatworks. 4, Joey and Drew from Furlong Smoke and Seafood. 5th, Tasker's Barbecue Supply. 6th, TFS Pit Vipers. 7th, Bentley Q. 8th, Dog Patch Q. 9th, Manhattan Jack's Barbecue, and Travis Murphy with Golden Blue Barbecue rounding out your top 10 in the Invitational.
Yeah, it was a really good showing by the Mid-Atlantic. I would have loved for some of our Midwest teams to get their name on that board, but man, hell of hell of a contest, and it was good. I mean, those teams are phenomenal.
Yeah, big shout out to the Mid-Atlantic guys.
So for your team of the year, Backyard Chicken, David Dick again, Ham Squad first place, and second, Furlong Smoke and Seafood, third, Tasker's Barbecue Supply, Devin with Fluffy Butt BBQ, and fourth, he wasn't able to go to the Invitational this weekend, but I did get to drop off his team of the year trophy this morning, so that was fun. Rib Life in fifth, Schmack Q in sixth, Hickory Hangover in seven, Two Swine Crew in eight, Robert with Swinelicious BBQ in ninth, and Wheezy Boy, Wheezy's Groove and Barbecue rounding out the top 10 in chicken.
Yeah, big shout out there to Fluffy Butt and to Robert with Swinelicious, two first-year teams making the top 10 in chicken. That's an awesome showing for two first-year backyard teams.
Absolutely.
And in the final standings for Team of the Year in ribs, coming in number one, rib champion, Miss Billion Meatworks. Wheeze with Wheeze's Groove and Barbecue, second overall. Leela Q, third. Alan Larimore and Wrecking Crew Barbecue, fourth. The Fat is Where It's At, fifth. Robert Jackson and Swinelicious Barbecue, sixth. Devin and Fluffy Butt Barbecue in seventh. Dog Patch Q, eighth. Dave Dick and Ham Squad, ninth. And rounding out your top 10 in the Team of the Year Backyard Ribs, TFS Pit Vipers.
Yeah, I think it was a really good year overall for the backyard. I mean, we in the Midwest definitely saw team counts up. We saw a higher level of competition week in, week out. Like I said, you saw more of those Midwest teams on that top 10 list. The Mid-Atlantic's, still coming out strong. Minnesota representing well. Illinois doing well. I will say one thing that happened this weekend that I do think needs to be mentioned, and we won't spend much time on it, but it was something that kind of bothered me a little bit.
Sure.
So in the Invitational, Saturday or Sunday was the Backyard Invitational as well as the Masters Invitational. And during awards, they called top 10 for chicken and ribs for backyard before then going into the Masters, where they called top 15, in our four categories. And then when it got down to calling the top 10 for the backyard, they only had reserve and grand walk. And I'm not, now I'm a Master Series cook, so, there's no harm, no foul for me to say this. And I'm just saying this personally. It's not representing the show or anything like that. I think that was a little bit, and pardon my language, bullshit. The backyard teams that represented the Invitational were the best backyard teams in the country. And for them not to be able to walk 10th to 3rd place is just stupid. I'm not saying KCBS needed to necessarily pay that out if it's not what they had in budget to be able to do that, or they gave out ribbons for most of the awards anyway. How expensive could it have been to have had ribbons? But to not let those teams walk in their overall out of a 40-team backyard contest is just stupid.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my chair, I'm freezing my ass off, and I'm pissed off about it. So, like I said, I'm not speaking for any of the backyard teams. I'm certainly not speaking on behalf of the team, on reserve and grand in the backyard. But I think that we still have a long way to go to get backyard the respect that it deserves. I didn't think it was right for them to do that. They should have been, it's not a hard thing to just say, hey, you get to walk. You got recognized. You finished top 10 against the best of the best in the backyard. How much is it, how much is 30 seconds of a team just to get to walk? That's the last I'll say about it. But that was the thing that rubbed me wrong through the week, at the end of the weekend. So I hope that if somebody from KCBS is hearing it, they'll fix it.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what you said. If anybody from KCBS that has any sort of authority is watching, this is what I want to say. It is these little things that matter a whole lot to backyard, especially in contests where backyard and masters are competing together, to take the time and to honor the teams that drove all the way to Alabama. And I don't even want to get into the fact that it was in Alabama. That's a totally different discussion. But the fact that you cannot call the top 10 to walk the stage on the biggest stage in barbecue outside of the Royal and I guess the Jack, but it's a major competition. It's the year-end competition. And you can't call those teams to walk the stage, there's no excuse. And so I think one thing I will say is that we do have a platform on this show to promote backyard to the best of our ability. And KCBS, if you're listening, we take notice of little things like that, and it does not really leave a good taste in our mouth.
No,
So
and the comment Travis Murphy just made about the team, you had backyard teams cooking the open, and they did well, right? I don't have the numbers officially, but you had several backyard-led teams in the open in the top 10. You had at least one winning a category, or several in top 5 in categories, and they got to walk for that. And you're saying, okay, so we're acknowledging these cooks can hang, right? They can cook against the Master Series cooks. There's no inherent difference between the two. And yet then they go on Sunday, no, you don't need to get up unless you reserve or you win this. But the 15 Master Series teams, they should get to walk. I got to walk, but somebody that finished 3rd in the Backyard Invitational didn't get to walk.
Yeah.
Bullshit. That's what it is.
There's no excuse. You have the time. Everybody is there. Like I said, we pay attention to these things, KCBS. Backyard teams make up 1/3 of your dues paying members. We do have clout in the organization. Listen to us when we say things like that simply are not going to fly anymore. And that's the last thing I'm going to say about it.
Yep. And moving on to happier things.
And moving on to happier
I said my piece.
I did too, because I was watching and it burned me instantly. And Katie and I went, what just happened? And then we both went on a big tirade about it. So anyways, moving on. So our guest for this evening is the newly crowned 2022 Backyard Champion, World Champion, Dave Dick from Ham Squad.
This is a guy that got tired of walking this weekend because he did it quite a lot.
I would like to, before we start, I want to kind of echo that as well. It bothers me. We've been to competitions where they'll call like top 3. And as an organizer, one of the things that I like to do from the teams is get the team's input, what they like to see. Even getting your name called and we got ribbons. I mean, it wasn't just getting your name called and going up. And I was doing a little bit of number crunching while you guys were talking. 20% of the backyard teams, there was less percentage of backyard teams called at 1st through 10th at 20% because we had 49 teams. Master Series teams only had 61 teams, so 25% of their teams got called in every category. So, give the teams their due, but I'll kind of shut my mouth for that too because I'll probably stick my foot in it before too long anyway.
Yeah, that's why I figured I had nothing to lose in this scenario, so it's fine to me.
Nobody really has anything to lose. We're good, Ryan.
Yeah, but that was always something like last year when I would go to a contest, and especially it was one of the smaller ones, or it was a first year one that we'd go to. You'd have the cooks meeting, and I would always ask, "Hey, how many places are you calling?" And they go, "Oh, we're just going to call reserve and grand, or we're going to call top 3." It's like, can you at least if there's 10 teams in this contest, call 5, right? Because if one of those teams gets to hear their name, they're more likely going to come back and do it again. It's that little stuff where it's just like, I don't understand the afterthoughts. Like, it should not be an afterthought. It's you paid the money, you traveled the miles, you cooked the contest, you got up on a Saturday morning when you probably would rather be sleeping like everybody else did. Give them the respect.
Yeah, they've earned it. But anyways, Dave, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your team, where you're from, and how you got started in the world of competition barbecue.
Yeah, so my name is Dave. I'm with Ham Squad. I live in Gloucester, Virginia, which is way over on the east coast of Virginia, pretty much on the Atlantic Ocean side. If you're familiar with the state, kind of near Williamsburg and Virginia Beach area. And as far as getting into competition barbecue, I cooked a competition, I want to say in like 2014, a backyard competition that was somewhat sanctioned. It was somehow involved with KCBS. And I remember going and, they said we had to cook ribs and pork. I didn't know I needed to cook ribs, so I had to go buy a rack of ribs. And I remember they were talking about kale and garnish and all this stuff. And I was like freaking out, cooking on a, ceramic, one of those like big green egg kind of cookers. And I cooked at home for years. And then I moved out to Southwest Virginia and met one of my buddies who is a judge. And he got me into judging. So we traveled all around the Southeast and were judging competitions. And we hosted the first Zombie Q in 2019 in Withville, Virginia, which was kind of the start of our, I wouldn't say the start of Mid-Atlantic barbecue, but the start of our kind of really tight-knit group of Mid-Atlantic guys. And if anybody out that's listening, and I know Zach and Ryan, the Mid-Atlantic guys are pretty close, and we've been close for a couple of years now. And we have kind of our little subgroups. We have the Border Brothers, which are like the West Virginia and Virginia guys, and we have some kind of groups within each other. But the Zombie Q event was really cool, and it was kind of got me into the competition bug. And the next year, I actually went through a divorce, and during that time, I was looking for something to spend my time on. It was during COVID, and I just started competing, and I fell in love with it and got a work from home remote job. So that's why a lot of the people that do competition barbecue, especially backyarders, kind of probably have seen my face, in the Midwest and in the South and everywhere, because I take my camper and I just roll and I do my work from my camper and kind of live my life, So I'm very lucky and very grateful for that opportunity in my life.
That's awesome. So before we get into the success that you had this weekend, I kind of want to talk about your season as a whole, right? Anybody that's tried to chase team of the year points, or whether it's backyard or masters, knows that it's a long year. There's a lot of ups and downs where you think you might have it, and then another team comes by. Kind of take us through the trajectory of your season. Did you set out at the beginning to chase team, or was it just kind of one of those things where you hit early and you said, let's ride this out? Because, you drove all the way out. You put in the miles. You drove all the way out to come see us in Cameron, Missouri. I think you didn't even show up till like midnight that night, the second half of a double. So there's certainly no lack of drive there. So, yeah, talk about the season and what led to that first place team of the year chicken.
So last year at the Invitational, I bombed. I think there was 30-something teams. I got 27th chicken, 16th ribs. And, man, I was all tore up. And on my way home, I stopped and did a competition in Alabama the next week. Bombed that one. Took a class, did a competition in December, bombed that one. And I was just like, man, maybe I just had a good few months last year. And, because I was doing all right during the year last year. And then this year, our first competition in the spring it's actually a double that's right near my house. 15 minutes from my house, called Barbecue Gives Back in Urbana, Virginia. Weeze actually came out and did that one this year. But I cooked I kind of had this idea that I'm going to split my time between judging and cooking this year. So, and Steve Dotson gives me a hard time about this because I decided I'm going to cook Saturday and judge Sunday. And I wanted to change my mind like the week before the competition, and they wouldn't let me. So I went ahead and cooked Saturday, did well in chicken, did well in pork. I got like a third chicken, a fifth pork, no call in ribs. Didn't know what was happening. Got my scorecard, ones across the board in appearance. I said, what did I do? And they were like, oh, you didn't slice through your ribs. And I was like, oh, seriously? And I don't think it happened, but obviously they said it happened, and they obviously took a picture. Just kidding. The reps didn't do that. But I was all tore up, and then I did another competition. I got a two in taste and tenderness because my chicken was raw. And I'm like, what are these judges doing? I know what I'm doing. I'm cooking my chicken 200 degrees, and I just kind of, I really started to kind of get frustrated with myself. And that's what got me into cooking some more. And then really in the middle of the season, when I switched over from thighs to legs, I did a double and I won both days. And I got like a first in chicken and a second in chicken with a 180. And I was like, all right. And that bumped me up into like the top 5 in chicken. And that's where I started to be like, okay, I guess I'm chasing points this year. And, I went through my ups and downs. I was killing it in ribs. I was up there, and then I dropped. And chicken has been my most consistent category all year. And furlongs, I met them shortly at the banquet and saw them at the awards. And they were the nicest folks. But in my head all season, I'm like, these guys, I'm going to beat them. I don't care. I hope they lose. All this, I'm watching the awards, hoping they don't win first place in Scottsboro, Alabama, and all this stuff. And they're great cooks. You can tell from their chicken scores all year. At the Open, they got 5th place chicken. I was like, man, how are they going to beat me? And then I jumped and I got second place chicken at the Open. So I think it was part of it was the excitement of wanting to get those points and travel. And I really wanted to come out to the Midwest and meet some of the folks that are on these shows and that I see Swinelicious and Fluffy Butt and Furlongs and Wheeze and all these people in the top 10. I think when I was in Illinois, so I did Illinois the day before Cameron, Missouri. So I drove, I think it was 12 hours out to Illinois, and I did the Illinois Cook, and I met like Schmack Q and Stone Cold Grillers, and I know I'm forgetting some other name. Wheeze was there, obviously. Met some pro teams, and then packed up my bags after awards and drove out to Cameron, like you said, Ryan. Got in there at like midnight, parked, in a field where it was kind of like raining, nasty out, and cooked there and got to meet some of the folks in the Midwest. So really, to me, it wasn't as much about chasing the points. Obviously, it was really cool too. Towards the end of the years, I really wanted to get some rib points, but it was really about traveling the country, and that's, I think, what I really want to focus on next year, is trying to do some really cool. Like I flew out and cooked with I cooked turkey at the Royal and carried boxes for Steve Dotson and DQ'd barbecue at the Royal. Like that was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like these things that I got to do and experience, I'll never forget them. So
that's awesome. Maybe the Jones EQ team might need to get back together for the Royal next year.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's just it's cool this year.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I was just gonna say, like, that's been like for us, and I know, like, what kind of echo what Dave is saying. Like, it's been really cool to meet all these different people from all the different regions, and see how tight knit everybody is. Like, I wouldn't say clicked off like, really bad from the Midwest or the Mid Atlantic or the South or anything like that. But it's just been really cool to do the show and to compete and get to meet all those people. Like, I saw Cookout Coach come across. Like, shout out Cookout Coach. I watch you on YouTube. Like, just different stuff like that. And
he's a cool guy. He'll do autographs for you.
Will he really?
Yeah, he's really good. I'll talk to him.
Okay, I appreciate that. But yeah, so let's go into the invitation. Let's go into Worlds, right? So walk us through the mindset on getting down there and competing consistently at such a high level. You've got so much at stake here. Top 10, chasing chicken points and rib points. You're really after chicken points. You get down to Worlds, pressure's on. What does your cook, look like?
So it was interesting because, I teamed up with Jones EQ last year for the Open as well. And it's just a few of us that work with, if you've heard of Jeff Jones, he's an MBN guy. So you might not have heard of him. He's from Mississippi. He makes rubs and sauces. But he met Dennis Bowman, who won the first Invitational 2 years ago, at an MBN contest, and he kind of got us all talking. And to us, the Open was kind of just an opportunity to have fun. We split up all the meats. I rolled my cooker up to their cook site, and we were doing chicken, and it was about that fun experience. And I knew, like, it was nice for them because we have some folks that are cooking master all year long that were like, "Hey Dave, we want you to cook chicken on the team," which felt really good. It's that validation, like you guys were talking about earlier. And I did the turkey and the steak and the cocktail as well, but really just kind of, I'm one of those people that I don't do a lot of the planning ahead of time, and sometimes some of the guys get on me about it. Like I trim my chicken the night of the competition. Friday night, Saturday night, I trim chicken, toss it in my brine. I trim up the ribs on the morning of, and it's just something that I think it's just part of the experience for me. I like doing that as part of the day, and it's started to become, I'm not very superstitious, but I'm thinking that might be one of the superstitions that I have now, especially in chicken. But getting that call on Saturday in chicken, second place, and tying first place was really awesome. And then winning steak and turkey and cocktail were great scores too. I kind of, on Saturday night, I was kind of happy. I was kind of like, I don't really care what happens on Saturday. I mean, I want to do the best cook that I can, but I'm like, ecstatic, getting the team of the year chicken, getting a call on team of the year ribs and turkey and all these things. And then, I woke up, Sunday morning, did my normal routine. I'm cooking, chicken and ribs, and I get through the cook, and I sit down and I'm thinking, and I'm like, you know what? I'm really happy with that cook, and that's kind of the worst thought you want to have on competition day is I had a really good cook, because that's when you don't do well. And my chicken tasted exactly like it did on Saturday, and the judges said so too. It was the exact same score Saturday and Sunday. Ribs, I scored, I think, my third or fourth highest score I've ever scored in ribs. So I tried a different recipe out, and it paid off. And I think, it really came down to all of the advice and stuff that I've gotten from everybody that I've talked to, because I've struggled with ribs. I've gotten like a first place, second place, third place call this season, but they've all been in like the high 160s. And I don't think that's a first place rib. I think that's I was the best cook that day, and I want to get a 176 rib every time, So I think it ended up being a really good cook and really consistent cook, and I was super happy with how the day went out. I don't think that I made any crucial mistakes or pulled anything or missed anything. So, I think I kind of executed everything as well as I could, which I don't think I've done this season. If you look at every cook that you've done all season, it's hard to find one that you did exactly what you wanted to do going into the weekend. And I think that, and I think it definitely paid off, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, even those cooks where you win or you have a good thing, something didn't go right. It just inherently is always going to be a little bit awry. So did you, I know you said you changed your recipe for ribs, but did you still at least feel like you were kind of cooking your best food of the year going into that weekend, or was it just, a wonderful coincidence that it all happened to line up?
No, I think so. So I take a lot of advice from, folks that are cooking Master Series, as well as, people that are beating me in ribs in backyard. And I injected the ribs for the first time this weekend, and it paid off. I actually dropped 2 of my racks of ribs in the nice gravel parking lot that they had, and I couldn't get them cleaned up. So I have to give a shout out to Toby with Poor Boys and Marcus with New River Boys for giving me an extra rack of ribs that they had that they were going to take home. So I was able to cook those. I don't know if those were the ones that I turned in. I'm not going to lie and say that, oh my God, I got ribs from somebody, I turned them in, but they really helped me out, but overall I was happy. I've been cooking Prairie Fresh products all year for ribs. I get those at Two Drummers, Butcher and Barbecue here in Williamsburg. And we get those ones that we took a class with Ferg a few years ago, and he has this spec of ribs that not a lot.
4327s.
Yeah, 4327s, and John and Jason from the butcher shop can get them. So all the Mid Atlantic folks know where to go for those. But I've been cooking with those all season, and they're great ribs. And I think that injection really made it go over the top this weekend, because I could tell the tenderness was better. But I feel coming into the weekend, I was happy with all of the meats that I had. I felt like I was prepared. But I think the other thing that helps me out is, I've been competing every weekend, and I think people don't realize you can be a really, really good cook, but if you take a month and a half off, it's going to be really difficult to execute. You kind of get a feel for how the chicken's supposed to taste, or the ribs are supposed to feel. So sorry, I didn't let the cat out of the bag with the 4327.
Oh, trust me, it's. I work at the store where we saw it, where Ferg used to be the manager, and it's a badly kept secret around here. So I was sitting behind you during awards at the Invitational, and you were calm as shit the entire time, and it was kind of funny to me because I kept walking, because you got that first high call, got that 7 call, and we're sitting, and Weez and he's a couple people down with him, he's like, David's got this. But you're still sitting there, and then you're next to Mispillion, and they're kind of looking at you and doing whatever, and somebody comes and smacks you on the back or whatever, but you're still just sitting there chill as shit. I thought it was funny as hell. I would have been like, you seen my leg tapping, doing whatever.
I didn't like that they were like, all right, that was first place ribs with 180 is Bentley Q. And then I was like, all right, this is it. Hopefully we can
go. Now let's move over to Masters so you can sleep sweat on it for 20 minutes.
Master Series, and I'm like, No, what's happening? I think I did walk to the bathroom. I walked over and talked to Hickory Hangover a little bit. Miss Spillion was a little bit tore up because they got that one rib call, but they're a consistent team. And when they got third place, I wasn't surprised. I mean, those scores were so tight. If you look at those category scores, they're just so tight. But yeah, it was a little bit stressful sitting there when they were calling every single Masters team. So
Yeah, I couldn't believe they switched over. You were almost like, are you literally not going to do this right now? It's like, oh, wow, they're going to make them sweat for 20, 30 minutes. This is going to be interesting.
yeah.
I mean, given that you had two calls, it was fairly, I felt like it was fairly inevitable, but still, stranger things have happened.
I was a little bit concerned, and you're familiar with it. When you get 180s, you don't know what's going to happen, especially in backyard. And, I knew Tasker and TNS, the West Virginia boys, they had the 180s. And I knew my chicken was good. And this has happened to me before. I've gotten a third place chicken with like a 178, 179, which would normally, kill it, and then Bentley Q, I knew they were a good team with that 180. And then once I heard Bentley Q get called and then Tasker get called in like that 5 to 8 range, I felt a little bit better. But TNS, they don't compete a lot. They're a West Virginia team. But man, he's come out like 3 or 4 times this year and he's won 2 of them. And it just scared me because I was like, man, what if the ribs were, low scoring and that 180 in chicken was going to switch it up. And I knew Hickory Hangover had gotten a 4th and a 9th, but you just don't know what the spreads are, So when I heard Hickory Hangover, I felt a lot better, obviously. So.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Like I said, consistent all year long. We were, like I said, since we've been doing the show since June, and every week we have on the results, and it seemed like every single week you were in the top 10 in ribs or chicken or both.
Yeah.
So yeah. So all right. So now we're in the off season. So now now you can relax a little bit. You're world champion. What does the off season look like for Ham Squad going into 23?
So off season looks like for me taking a little bit of a break. I will be going over to again, my buddies that own the butcher shop. They also own a restaurant, and they just sent me a picture of the 375 turkeys that they ordered that we have to fry up and smoke and all that stuff. So we'll be doing that on Thanksgiving, and that'll be fun. And then I was just talking to Pinky Out, which is another Virginia team. There's a local wing competition coming up in December that I think might be kind of fun. I like doing those ones that are a little bit different. Those are my favorite competitions that are not chicken and ribs or chicken ribs and pork and brisket. Like I like the non-KCBS ones every once in a while. And then I think right now I don't have any classes that I am signed up for because I cook on pellets and I get a lot of crap for it, but it works.
Probably not.
Yeah, clearly it works.
But there's all these like getting basted and heavy smoke and Chunky / Top Gun are doing a class. I did Old Virginia smoke. There's a possibility that I might be teaming up with DQ'd Barbecue Cookout Coach to do DQ'd Squad. I don't know what next year is going to hold. I have a feel. I've signed up for that Urbana contest that I mentioned to you. That's like 15 minutes from my house. But I think I'm going to go down to Florida and do they do 4 meat backyards down there. And I just ordered some briskets, and I think I'm going to do 3 of those in January. Again, working from home, I think I'm just going to take the camper and live in Florida for a month.
Yeah, I saw that the Plant City Pig Jam, and I think what was it? Ryan Wees did a last
Lakeland.
Lakeland, yeah.
There's Lakeland, and then there's another one in I think Lake Wales. There's 3 in a 4-week period within like 45 minutes of each other. Yeah, I'm like, I mean, why not, right? So I think that's next on my docket. And like I said earlier, I think what I'll do is I'd like to try to do some really unique competitions next year. I think Alaska is on the short list. I think Hawaii. There's one in Hawaii in November. They had the 3 single meat ribs this weekend.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know, something cool, something unique, and again, it all depends. If I go down to Florida and then go to Urbana and kill it, I might be on a point chasing thing again. I don't know. We'll see.
I think out in California they do tri-tip. I think tri-tip is a category.
Okay, yeah, I think anything like that would be really fun. Cool. Absolutely. I did the coolest competition, and Pinky Out, who's on the stream, did it with me. I've done it for 2 years now. It's called the Campsite Cook-Off here in Virginia. And we get there on Friday, and they have like this reefer truck. You don't know what you're cooking until Friday night. And they're like, all right. The first year they gave us 2 pork butts, a 20-pound turkey, 10 pounds of chicken leg quarters, and then a 10-pound bag of potatoes. And then this year it was a brisket, 2 pork butts, 3 whole chickens, and then 10 pounds of catfish and a pumpkin. And you have to do a dish for each one of those. And this year they did it where like the pork and the brisket had to be kind of KCBS style. So just the meat, but the other ones you got to do whatever you wanted. So me and my buddy made like pumpkin pie burn ends for the pumpkin. We did catfish tacos, and then we did chicken pot pie on the smoker. So those are the ones that are, to me, are the most fun, because it's not 12 o'clock chicken and 12:30 ribs.
Yeah, you get to be creative.
Yeah,
you get to kind of flex your cooking skills, not your barbecue or competition barbecue skills, but like your chef, cuisine skills. So that's really cool. That would be really fun to do.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say that would be super fun. Speaking of those contests, like the one in Hawaii, the one in Alaska, things like that. I've been looking at the I think one of my bucket list ones would be to go over Australia. I've got family that live in Perth, and they do a KCBS contest over there, or at least 2 or 3 of them every year. That would be one that I have no idea how logistically that would work, but that'd be a hell of a lot of fun.
Let me know if you need me to clean dishes. I'll fly out there with you.
Sounds good, bud.
SCA, I think, is actually big in Australia.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think they do a lot of state comps there. I don't know if they're like kangaroo or whatever, but but like for real, I think like SCA is a really big thing in Australia.
Yeah, and speaking of contests, if you guys don't mind, I want to do a plug for my contest. We have one in Williamsburg, Virginia. I know the Midwest guys, that's pretty far, but it is a double. It's in historic Williamsburg. It's right actually in Jamestown, part of Williamsburg. So, where our country was founded. It's called the Revolutionary Barbecue Brawl, and it's going to be a blast. We already have enough Master Series teams to be a qualifier for the Jack and the Royal, so that's exciting. But
when is that one?
It's end of April. If you're interested in swinging out and you're looking for cookers, I have lots of connections in the area too. So if anybody in the Midwest wants to fly out, I can hook you up.
That's awesome. Yeah, my wife Kim literally was telling me the other day, and I have no idea why she said this. It came out of complete left field. She's like, I'd really like to go do a contest on the East Coast. And I said, okay. All right, so we can look into that. That'd be a cool one.
Cool.
Is there any chance we could get you to come out to the Midwest to do the Backyard Royal?
When is that one again?
It's usually the third weekend of March.
Possibly. I'll have to see.
Yeah, it hasn't been posted yet. The only thing in the Midwest, the only thing that's been posted, last I checked yesterday, was Iowa State Barbecue Championships are already posted for the 31st.
Yeah, as long as it's not the 25th, I believe, is Urbana. Mm-hmm. If it was the weekend before that, I could probably make that work. I don't think they've posted anything about it yet. They didn't this year until pretty much the turn of New Year. So you may not hear about the date until then.
And
but like I said, I can help you get a cooker and some meat. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, Steve will help me run boxes. That's so nice of him.
All right, Dave, we got anything to leave our viewers here before we let you run tonight?
No, I just really appreciate the camaraderie that everyone in especially Backyard has. I echo the point of KCBS, can listen to the backyard teams or not listen to the backyard teams. And I think there's one right answer to that to make the organization successful. And you all know that when they say that a third of the membership is backyard, that doesn't mean that a third of it is master and a third of it is judges, because we got to know that every judge has to be a KCBS member. So judges are probably your largest constituent. And then after that, it's probably backyard, just based off of the numbers that I've heard. So, we have a lot to say. And I would also mention, please go out and vote when they do have the elections for the KCBS board. If you see any familiar names on there, look for the folks that are going to make your hobby and your life and what you enjoy doing more fun and more enjoyable. Like Ryan said, he didn't like that they didn't call the top 10 teams, but who can he, or walk up, I should say, but who can he voice that to? And I think it's going to be nice if you have somebody on the board that you can voice that to. So I'll just mention that before I go.
Are you going to be on the ballot?
I hope so. I'll be honest with you. I was nominated by a few of the folks in the Mid-Atlantic. I have a lot of time on my hands to dedicate to this hobby. I did get an email that I wasn't on the ballot, but this weekend I did hear from one of the board members that I would be on the ballot. So I think that I am, but I'm not 100% sure. But if I am, I'd really appreciate the votes. And I'm here to listen and kind of voice those concerns to the folks that can make a difference. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, if you do get on the ballot, consider voting for Dave, and please vote for Charles Critlin.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we had a few people come up to us this past weekend they already had business cards saying they were board nominees. They were passing them out, and everyone that I talked to, I always asked the backyard question, right? What is your understanding of backyard? Are you supportive of it? Do you, this, that, and the other? And I can't remember necessarily what the responses were or who they were that said it, but the questions have to be asked. I think it's incredibly important. So keep that conversation active with anybody who's running for the board or anybody who's already on the board. Those are the ways that we're going to get these things improved for next year, so we don't have those awkward situations, and backyard gets the respect that it deserves.
And the representation.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave. Well, I think that's all we've got for you tonight. So like I said, once again, congratulations for all of us here in the Midwest. Like I said, awesome job. And we look forward to seeing what you do next year out on the competition trail.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, you too, Dave. Take care.
Thanks, buddy. Your 2022 Backyard World Champion, Ham Squad.
Yeah,
that was good. That was a good interview. That was really interesting to me as far as how he kind of approached his season. And the dude put in the miles. He put in the effort. So hats off to him. Nothing but congrats.
No, absolutely. Like I said, consistently good all year long. And like I was telling him a little bit before the show, like that's got to be the ultimate vindication, right? Like you've been competing consistently all year, and then you get to the biggest stage and you win it all. Like that
100%.
is, because it's one thing to be doing so good in individual competitions, and then you get to the big stage and you don't do so good, right? Like that has to be the biggest letdown. You're there, but you obviously are there to win. So he has been top of the pack all year long. And like I said, just takes a lot of perseverance to do that.
Yeah, I don't think there was anybody there actually that probably had a more successful weekend than he did. Because if you think they were successful in the Open, he won stake. They did well in the other two ancillaries. Then he wins the Invitational. I mean, dude had a good weekend, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask
hell of a way to end the season.
I was going to ask him about how he did his stake. How he just because my own little interest kind of peaked right there to see how he cooked his steak. So no, very cool. Well, let's get into our drawing. So we're gonna have a drawing. Let's do 4 drawings. Let's do for a bottle of All Day from Drew Davis and a bottle of Man Meat Texas Style. So we're gonna have 4 drawings, and we're gonna kind of go back and forth on. But those would be the products that we give away tonight. How's that sound, Ryan?
Sounds good to me, bud.
All right. So let's bring up well, first of all, actually, before we get into that, please comment below. You have to type out your name so that Katie knows who you are to enter you into the drawing. So don't just leave a comment because some people it just says Facebook user. Leave your name to be entered into this drawing. We're going to give you guys a couple minutes here to get those names entered. And then after a sufficient amount of time has gone by, then we will do our drawing. So in the meantime, we're just going to kind of just shoot the shit here.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this was the first season of the show. I think it went good. We had some really, really great guests. I think we had a really diverse set of people on the show. If anybody has suggestions for who they'd like to see us interview next year, you know, shoot either one of us a message in the off season, and we'll try to work that out. I'm sure Zach and I haven't really talked about it too much, but I'm sure we'll probably try to do a couple things. You know, so you're not necessarily not hearing from us again until March, but it just won't be the regular, you know, weekly program. But yeah, we'll definitely do some stuff, and we're always looking at, you know, I think there'll be some, you know, off-season practicing type content. I know I've kind of been thinking about it in my head on, you know, if anybody's interested in watching. Here's a box building thing or something like that. You know, if that stuff's useful, we'll certainly take a look at doing it.
Kind of from what I understand, I think offline, you know, people would like to see some how-tos. I think, you know, I would like to kind of go back into maybe like doing the roundtables. I think the roundtables were the two roundtables we did one with Backyard, one with Masters. Those were a big hit. Obviously doing When the Smoke Clears. We will continue that next season, and we'll have a full season of that. So we will start I would say our first one will be the Royal.
Yep.
And we'll pick a handful, probably try to maybe do one a month or something like that, or once every other month at least, to keep that fresh and keep that going. Because I think those have been a big hit too, to bring on the top 5 from those comps. I can't think of anything else. So you got anything off the top of your head that you think we should probably try to do?
I mean, no, not necessarily. And we, you know, it's all based on what we have the time to do.
Yeah.
The holidays are coming up, so I'm sure a little break's going to be nicely needed. Personally, you know, if you'd asked me yesterday, I was very much ready for the off season. And then if you ask me today, I'm kind of ready I'd cook a contest next week if they let me.
I'm kind of the same way, you know, because like I said, we were listening to awards, and I kept thinking, I was like, okay, like, what is our schedule going to look like next season? Because I know right now we have 13 that we are going to do. Like, we have them like planned out. And then, of course, depending on how we do, we're going to roll those winnings right back into entries for another contest. Depends on if we're in a points chase. I'm not going to say right now that we're going to be in a points chase, but say we're going to chase points. And so I'll try to be out there competing as much as possible. We'll do the Royal. We're going to do, I think we're going to do Altoona. And then after that, it's kind of we're just banking on these contests that we went to this year happening again, and then maybe thinking going into the South or going out East or something. I know we want to do Bringing Home the Bacon this year.
Yeah, I love that contest last year. That's in a beautiful campground. If KCBS ever considers that they need to go north with the Invitational, that would be a place to look at.
KCBS.
Yeah, my plan for next year is what I'm going to try to be better about next year, that we weren't so good this year, and I probably have to apologize to Kim about it. Was I need to kind of plan my schedule better than, okay, I did this contest, what's the next one, or what are the next two? Yeah. I really didn't ever know what I was going to do the next month. It was more of what's the next one contest to do. Yeah. So I'm going to try to be a little better about planning ahead, but I know stuff will still come up.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm excited about for next season is the new teams that we haven't met yet.
Yeah, we definitely try to get on new teams, new people, new faces, and just keep expanding that way. You know, we love all of our barbecue family that we've had on here quite a bit, but we also want to kind of spread out, you know, broaden our horizons a little bit team-wise and get on some new blood and talk to people and their experiences. I think maybe probably try to get some Southern teams on and some stuff like that, and some new Midwest teams. You know, like I'd like to have on Missy. I'd like to have on some other people in the Midwest that we don't get to. Jackson Abrams, I think, would be kind of a fun one to talk to. And and have them on. So yeah, but anyways, let's get to the drawing. I think we've got some names drawn here. So if you want to bring up the screen here for the drawing, we will draw this first name, and that will be for a bottle of All Day SPG from Drew Davis of Razorax Barbecue.
We're all waiting with anticipation.
Yeah, I know we're all.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for all the new people that we're going to have on the show next year. But even outside of the purview of the show, I'm excited for the people and the teams that we've never met. Right? Because the beauty of the backyard is you're going to have new teams who have never cooked a contest, and some of them are going to come out on fire. So it'll be really fun to see who these people are.
Missy Schrock is going to be a really interesting one next season.
So based on your comments, I'm assuming the wheel did not show up on the screen.
That is correct.
No wheel.
Awesome. Well, the first winner is Cookout Coach.
Oh. Nice. All right.
So,
cool. Very cool. Well, yeah, leave us your information or message us, Cookout Coach, and we will get that bottle of All Day to you in the mail. So congratulations, being our first winner this evening. All right. And I think have you drawn all the names?
No.
Okay. Let's do the drawing for the bottle of Texas Style from Man Meat BBQ.
Second drawing. FYI, this is random. It's from wheelofnames.com. So it's completely random. Is Robert Jackson.
Oh, that guy wins everything.
Yeah. What a small world.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Robert. I think send us your address anyway, and we'll get you that bottle of Texas Style mailed to you. All right, let's do the third name, Katie, and that'll be for another bottle of All Day.
Third name is Jim Wheeler.
All right, congratulations, Jim. Like I said, comment or DM us your address, and we will get that bottle of All Day in the mail.
Amanda throwing shade at him.
Yeah, I know. Leave him alone, Amanda. All right, last drawing for another bottle of Texas Style from Man Meat BBQ.
And the last name is Gold and Blue Barbecue.
Travis Murphy. Congratulations, Trav.
You're going to try out some of that man meat.
That's right. That's right. It's good stuff. Both products are amazing. They're great. All right, very cool. Well, Ryan, anything you want to leave the audience here before we wrap up this season?
Nope. I think we covered a lot today with some of our thoughts on backyard. But overall, thank you very much for everybody who has watched the show. We really appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you to our sponsors. 2023. Let's get it going.
That's right. Like I said, yeah, thank you so much to Man Meat and to all of our sponsors. Like I said, we could not have done this show without you. We look forward to coming back stronger than ever. We will begin broadcasting again. I'm thinking probably February or March as we move closer to the Backyard Royal. And that will be it. So for Ryan and myself, Zach, this has been another episode of Midwest Backyard Matters, proudly presented by Man Meat BBQ. Whether you are out on the driveway, in the backyard, or out on the KCBS competition trail, always remember that backyard matters. See you next season, everybody.
Peace.
Midwest Backyard Matters, brought to you by Man Meat BBQ. Additional sponsors: American Fire BBQ and Grilling Supply, Sofa King Awesome BBQ, Trauma Hogs BBQ, and Hunsaker Smokers.